So today we're going to talk about the Savion Dobson case and its First Amendment relation to it. So first, I'm going to give you a little case summary, and this case took place in 2015 in Tennessee, Nashville. Savion was a 15-year-old, and he was shot and killed while shielding female friends from gunshots. Three men were found guilty and convicted for his murder. One was given life sentence, and the other two were given more than 100 years each. This case was really controversial because the suspects produced rap songs, and these rap songs were used as evidence in the trial. So there you can see why there will be some ethical issues of the case's evidence. Of course, we know that the killing was wrong, but the case's evidence is what comes in a topic of controversy. So first, we need to identify the facts. So there was a kid murder, 3 were convicted. There were violent songs that were being produced by suspects, and we also have to face the fact that art doesn't have to directly relate to what the artist is doing or the lifestyle of the artist, or like directly relate to the artist at heart. So another fact that we need to face is that context can frame a situation. So in our society, we value justice, and our principle of ours is that justice is fair and that fairness is impartial. In part 4, loyalties, I think we're committed to a fair trial and judgment to adjudicate justice. So we want this trial to be fair and just. So what do I think of the prosecution's decisions to show the video to jurors? I think that lawyers and prosecutors do a really good job of defending their case and defending the stance that they want to frame their case in. I think that they thought that it would sway the jurors and that it would influence the jurors on the view of the morale of the suspects. What do you think that the judge should have? Do you think that the judge should have kept the song out of the courtroom on First Amendment grounds? I think so. Taking into account that you can take statements as evidence, I was, contemplating on the fact that, like, if it has a beat, does it change the whole dynamic? And I think that it should, but it shouldn't. It's a really complicated question. On First Amendment grounds, I think songs are like an art piece, and art pieces not necessarily relate to the artist at heart. Sometimes they can portray a reality that people live. Sometimes they can portray what the popular culture is. Sometimes they can portray very different things than just like directly what the artist does on their free time or on their own character. I don't think that a song should be used as primary evidence of somebody's murder. I think that for judgment of character, like I said, context phrase everything, or like context can frame everything. So for judgment of character, I think it can definitely sway how people or jurors think. I think it should be kept out of legal grounds, because, like I said, songs are like art pieces, just like movies or different things. And especially because the songs were produced before his murder. And it doesn't narrate his murder. It doesn't directly have to do anything with his murder. So I don't think that that should be the primary evidence to convict somebody of a suspected crime if it didn't, it wasn't directly tied to that case. So what are the future implications for artists who want to express their experiences through music, even if it includes violence? I think that if we start to admit songs or artistic references as evidence, I think that a lot of people would be restricted with their choice of expression. And that's not necessarily what we want to happen as a society. Although all the precedents cases before have already pointed that you can use songs as an evidence. Usually there are rap songs that are being used. But I think that if we start to make that a common thing, then a lot of artists are going to feel censored, and a lot of artists are going to feel crossed by the law and crossed in their First Amendment rights. So think about some of your favorite artists and songs. Do you consider the lyrics to be autobiographical and factual, or do you assume that their creators are taking liberties with their life experience, or both? So these are some of my top artists. You can see Bad Bunny here, Santa Fe Clan, Fuerza Régida, you can see Drake, you can see J. Cole, Peso Pluma, and Grupo Frontera. So something I really wanted to talk about is corrido culture. So as an example of why songs don't necessarily have to do with the lifestyle of an artist. And I wanted to take corrido culture as an example. So corrido culture or corridos are songs that narrate the lives of drug traffickers or cartel members. So these groups like Fuerza Régida and Grupo Frontera or Peso Pluma, they often sing corridos, which are songs about, cartel members or drug traffickers or drug lords. They don't do drug trafficking, or they are not cartel members, but when you do things like that, you are telling the world that you are somewhat or some way invested or intertwined within these lifestyles. Now, a lot of people or a lot of groups that do narco corridos or corridos do end up being murdered because of this, because they start to be intertwined, not because necessarily they're involved, but maybe a drug lord didn't like the way he was portrayed in a corrido, or a cartel member didn't like the way he was portrayed in a corrido. So in some ways, you do tell the world that that's something that you're experienced with and involved with. Now, I want to go into different artists or different genre, like Bad Bunny and Drake. These are more commercial artists, and they all sing about violence, drugs, gangs, all of it. And I don't necessarily think that these are in any way tied to a specific crime or in a specific gang or in a specific anything. I just think that that's popular culture, and that's what they use to reflect on popular culture. Now I want to go into a different set of genre, which is Santa Fe Clan and J. Cole. So both of these artists do very lyrical and poetic type of work. They talk about the struggles in their community. They talk about the things that their community faces and goes through, and all the sentiments that they may or may not have grown up with. And this type of lyrics do reflect on community struggles and maybe the artist's life, but it doesn't directly tie them or make them responsible for any future or past crimes, or suspect of any future or past crimes. I think it is very important for us to think that our artists are not, or art is not directly reflected on how we live. Instead, it can be reflected on a communal struggle, on a struggle that we're passionate about. It can be reflected on popular culture and many other factors that not necessarily point to a person's character, but also with the examples of Peso Pluma and Fuerza Régida and Grupo Frontera, you can also take into account that once you talk about these things, people do correlate you with, you know, different other activities, and it is in some ways unattachable to your, image. So I wanted to show different genres to show the diversity of motives of why people are producing songs. In this case, I would say that the use of rap songs is not, or the use of songs is not constitutional, because it prohibits a person from their liberty of expression, especially when it is not directly tied into the case and it was not produced or narrated his murder. Now, that doesn't take away the ethics or the wrong ethics of his murder. It just says that because we have the First Amendment and because we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, it is not fair or constitutional to use rap songs to sway the jurors on people's morals or the suspects' morals. It shouldn't be used as a primary source of evidence, and it should not, a song should not convict somebody if it's not directly tied to the case. Thank you.